He's handed the keys to Elon Musk and is selling this country for parts to the richest people on the planet for a kickback. And in exchange, they will bankroll his campaigns and those of his allies. They scratch his back, he scratches theirs, and the rest of us are left behind.
So today we are here to say very loudly and clearly, no, we will not accept an oligarchic form of society where a handful of billionaires run the government. No, we will not accept an authoritarian form of society with a president who undermines the Constitution every day and is working aggressively to take away our freedom of speech and freedom of assembly.
Furious voters voicing their outrage at lawmakers, both Democrats and Republicans. Some Republicans facing heat over supporting the cuts from DOGE. Meanwhile, lots of Democrats being told they're not doing enough to push back against the Trump administration. CNN's Eva McKen is in North Las Vegas, Nevada, where Senator Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez just wrapped up a big event. Eva, what happened?
Jake, what struck me about this Fight the Oligarchy tour is there is a very deliberate effort to be nonpartisan. You heard Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez say several times, no matter if you disagree with me on a whole host of issues, if you are willing to fight for working class voters, then you belong here. And that really flies in the face of how the left is often characterized as dogmatic and not pragmatic. But that is not what we are seeing here. Senator Sanders says that he understands that both parties are captured by big moneyed interests, and this is a real effort, regardless of ideology, to call back the working class and bring them into coalition.
This isn't just about Republicans. We need a Democratic Party that fights harder for us too. We, as a community, must choose and vote for Democrats and elected officials who know how to stand for the working class.
And so, Jake, you heard the Congresswoman there. She didn't spare her own party, even though she didn't mention Senator Schumer by name. This is just one stop over the next several days that they will make. And I'll end with this. There is clearly an appetite for this message. It's unclear if they are peeling off some of the conservative voters that may have voted for Trump. That is certainly the goal here. But the Democratic establishment cannot afford to ignore this energy center of the party. There may be some that try to dismiss this, but they have a lot of enthusiasm here on the ground.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez wages that Democrats would do a lot better with voters if they looked less like diplomats searching for a compromise and looked more like prize fighters for the working class.
This isn't just about Republicans. We need a Democratic Party that fights harder for us too. But what that means is that we, as a community, must choose and vote for Democrats and elected officials who know how to stand for the working class. I want you to look at every level of office around and support brawlers who fight, because those are the ones who can actually win against Republicans. Let's be real about that.
Brawlers. I assume you approve this message.
100%, absolutely. Democrats are in a crisis right now. They're on life support. They have a testicular fortitude problem. They're not fighting nearly as hard as they need to fight for the American people, as was seen last week during this CR vote in the Senate. It's a problem. And for me, it's not about the parties, because the parties are going to kind of do their thing. It's about the people rising up and holding the parties accountable. Democrats have fighters. Jasmine Crockett, AOC, Ayanna Pressley, the whole squad, Greg Casar, Pramila Jayapal, and governors and mayors across the country are fighters. But we need some of the OGs in the party to elevate, uplift the younger people
or do they
and
need
take a
to,
step
do
back.
they need to step aside?
Or step aside, because we need to hear new, fresh, bold voices. That's what the American people want. And if the party doesn't do that, the party is about to be finished.
I hope that AOC, Pramila Jayapal, Greg Casar, I hope they're the new face of the Democratic Party because Republicans will be winning elections all over the country if that is the face of the Democratic Party. Are you?
I mean, y'all
listen, a district like mine that Joe Biden won by 10 points, okay, 10 points. Kamala Harris won by half a point. Okay, I won by 6.5 points, 24,000 votes in a district that has 85,000 more Democrats than Republicans. Why?
And you're right.
Because the
But
Democrats
you ran against a cornball candidate. You had
He was your friend.
He was not my friend.
He was your friend
You
long
had
ago.
someone running against you who was not a strong candidate, and we still
that
have,
we agree on,
We
but-
still have consultants and big money controlling the
But you're
Democratic
missing-
Party,
you're missing- you're
compromising
She did
it.
outperform Kamala Harris in her
Come on
district.
now.
Trump did,
Sure.
Trump
He
did
knows
better
this.
than
But here's my point. The New York, look no further than New York, where issues like cashless bail have been a disaster, issues like sanctuary state status, congestion pricing. In districts like mine, where Democrats on paper should win big, they're losing. And so if the messenger is AOC, who, by the way, was originally from my district, she grew up in Yorktown, not the Bronx. If AOC is the face of the Democratic Party in swing districts all across this country, she will mobilize voters way more than Nancy Pelosi ever did.
Let me just
add
the counterpoint within the Democratic Party to what AOC is saying. From this is Elisa Slotkin. She gave the Democratic response to the State of the Union address much more of a moderate voice in the party. Listen.
I can't just chain myself to the White House and become an activist full time because you and others here are going to call me for things that you need. All of those things require me to be more than just an AOC. I can't do what she does because we live in a purple state and I'm a pragmatist. I gotta save things for my people.
See
Things are getting messy.
Come on,
there.
son.
It's getting very messy.
That's
and
white flag energy right there.
Names are
That's
being
white
put on the
flag
table.
energy right there.
No, I think she's right.
What do you mean you think she's right?
Because I think
First of all,
I
even
think it's
choosing
easy.
her to give the response to Governor Trump.
That's your party's
Governor
choice.
Trump. I should call him Governor Trump.
That's
President
your
Trump
party's
is a
choice.
problem.
You should be the chairman, by the way.
I mean,
the
this
advice
is
you gave
crazy.
a
All right,
minute
let me
ago,
let Joe finish.
Go ahead, brother.
You know, she is right in the sense that it's easy to throw grenades. You can be a AOC and throw grenades all day in a safe district and not have to account for anything. There's a huge delta between the hype of AOC and the accomplishments of AOC. And frankly, if you look at that tour she was just on with Bernie Sanders, right? It was called the Fighting Oligarchy Tour, right?
Yo,
They
it's so
essentially
shook.
traveled the country and spoke to an echo chamber of people who already agree with them. How is she and Bernie Sanders, with their message, going to attract people in swing districts
I
by the
guess what
Fighting
I wonder
Oligarchy
is
Tour?
maybe
scared.
what they're looking at is
I'm
actually
scared of AOC.
I
I'm
welcome
scared.
her to
There
my
are
district.
Democrats I'm scared of. There are Democrats
maybe
I'm
what
scared
they're
of, not
looking
her.
at, Joe, is what the Republicans did, which is all of the guys who stood around screaming in Congress and not passing any legislation, those folks are in power now. They won at the end of the day.
I think that this is where I will actually agree with you. I do think that there is a difference between Bernie Sanders and AOC going and talking to our base, and a difference between the senator who was just elected, has to show results for her state, has to, in a swing state, a battleground state, and she has to deliver something, versus AOC and Bernie are just, they're talking about the base. I will say, I was at the DNC in 2017 after almost this exact same situation. Bernie Sanders asked Chuck Schumer, let me go out and talk to our base. This is exactly what he did in 2016. This is 2017. This is deja vu. You know what happened when Nancy Pelosi? Everybody was asking for her to resign. You know what she did? She embraced the new generation of the Democratic Party, lifted them up, and said, you know what? I'm going to step aside after the midterm elections, and I'm going to lift everybody else up.
And that's
We've
why
done
she
this
worked to block
before.
AOC
We've
from
done
becoming
this. We've
a
done this
ranking member
before.
of a
We can
committee.
do
But
it again.
That also happened.
The
That
tens
also
of millions of people who are staying home, they're staying home because we're not elevating new voices in the Democratic
No,
Party.
you're not. Your
Those
chairs
people
are your
are
ranking members,
mobilized.
Maxine
I
Waters
think
on
to
financial
Congressman Lawler's
services.
point, this is not just a Chuck Schumer thing. I think it's happening pretty broadly among some of the older contingent in the Democratic Party.